everyone. Welcome back. I hope you've had a good week. My week was fine, not very exciting, but nothing bad happened. And I'm a bit tired tonight. I'm going to make it a short one. And I'm just going to talk about the zoo and read you a little zoo-related poem. Well, more of a monologue. One of my cousins has just been to Chester Zoo and put some photos on Facebook, and it looks great. And I was thinking how marvellous it is that zoos have changed so much. When I grew up, there was still a lot of zoos around that were modelled on the old kind of Victorian concrete cages with bars model, and then they went through a transition in the 1970s, and now I think they're all pretty good. They're aiming at conserving and breeding programs and trying to give the animals as natural an environment as possible. But the little monologue that I'm going to read is, some of you will know it. I used to know this off by heart, and it goes back to when zoos were just for entertainment and were just concrete things with cages. So take this with a pinch of salt. It's not meant to be realistic. It's called The Lion and Albert, and it was made famous as a monologue by a comedian called Stanley Holloway, who was very popular in England right through to the 1960s, I would say. Anyway, I've now lost the poem. Here it is. Now, there's a famous seaside place called Blackpool that's noted for fresh air and fun. And Mr. and Mrs. Ramsbottom went there with young Albert, their son. A grand little lad was young Albert, all dressed in his best, quite a swell, with a stick with a horse's head handle, the finest that Woolworths could sell. They didn't think much to the ocean. The waves, they was piddling and small. There was no wrecks, nobody drowned it. In fact, nothing to laugh at all. So, seeking for further amusement, they paid and went into the zoo, where they'd camels like there. Seeking for further amusement, they paid and went into the zoo, where they'd lions and tigers and camels, and old ale and sandwiches too. There were one great big lion called Wallace. His nose was all covered with scars. He lay in a somnolent posture with his side of his face on the bars. Now, Albert had heard about lions and how they was ferocious and wild. To see Wallace lying so peaceful, well, it didn't seem right to the child. So, straightway, the brave little fella, not showing a morsel of fear, took his stick with the horse's head handle and shoved it in Wallace's ear. You could see that the lion didn't like it, for, giving a kind of a roll, he pulled Albert inside the cage with him and swallowed little lad whole. Then Pa, who'd seen the occurrence and didn't know what to do next, said, "Mother, yon lion's ate Albert." And Mother said, "Ee, I am vexed." Then Mr. and Mrs. Ramsbottom, quite rightly, when all's said and done, complained to the animal keeper that the lion had eaten their son. The keeper was quite nice about it. He said, "What a nasty mishap. Are you sure that it's your boy he's eaten?" Pa said, "Am I sure? There's his cap." The manager had to be sent for. He came and he said, "What's to do?" Pa said, "Yon lion's ate Albert, and him in his Sunday clothes too." Then Mother said, "Right's right, young feller. I think it's a shame and a sin for a lion to go and eat Albert. And after we've paid to come in." The manager wanted no trouble. He took out his purse right away, saying, "How much to settle the matter?" Pa said, "What do you usually pay?" But Mother had turned a bit awkward when she thought where her Albert had gone, and she said, "No, someone's got to be summoned." So that was decided upon. Then off they went to the police station in front of the magistrate chap. They told him what happened to Albert and proved it by showing his cap. The magistrate gave his opinion that no one was really to blame, and he said that he hoped the Ramsbottoms would have further sons to their name. At that, mother got proper blazing, and "Thank you, sir, kindly," said she. "What, waste all our lives raising children to feed ruddy lions? Not me." And that's the end of the monologue. Just in case you're worried, there is a sequel where after Mr. and Mrs. Ramsbottom get home, the insurance man comes around and he's just going to pay them on the policy they'd taken out on Albert's life when Albert actually comes back, because Wallace, as it turns out, felt bad for swallowing him and also had no teeth, so he couldn't chew him. So he sort of vomited him up and Albert came back home. So I hope you enjoyed that. We'll be back next week with more irrelevant chatter. Have a good week, everybody. You're all very precious. Bye bye.